Hey there YouTube, welcome back to the channel. It's been a few weeks since I've had an upload and a lot of you guys have been checking in on me, making sure I was okay. Everything's fine, not to worry. Basically what went on there is, I wanted to take the wife for a vacation here before the end of the year, and we did a 9-day road trip in my camper van. We started out here in North Dakota, we went to Montana, went through West Yellowstone, down I-15 to Las Vegas. We stayed in Las Vegas for a few days, went out to the Grand Canyon, went to Zion National Park, and came back I-70 over Vail Pass into Denver, and then from Denver back to North Dakota. So I was gone for 9 days, which covered 2 weekends. I worked right up till when we left on the trip, and I had to go back in the truck back to work basically as soon as I got back. So I wasn't working in the shop for about 3 weeks. And so that's why we didn't have a video here for about 3 weeks. Unfortunately, I'm not, I don't have multiple videos pre-recorded ready to post. So, that's why we didn't have an upload for a little while. Now, before we left on that trip, I bought this. This is the Audew Jump Start Pack. I wanted to make sure, just in case we ran the batteries dead on my camper van overnight, I had a way to self-rescue. Now, before I bought this, I watched Project Farm's video on jump start packs, and this one did very, very well on his test that he did there. And that's what made me buy this one. If you guys don't watch Project Farm, I highly suggest you check him out. He has a great channel. And I'd always been rather skeptical of these small jump packs, and I never did end up running my batteries dead on the trip, so I really haven't had a chance to test this thing out. I did shortly before I left on my vacation, and I was diagnosing the bad starter on the 359 Pete. I did hook this thing up, and I had noticed something rather interesting. When I hooked this up, it actually produces charging voltage. My batteries went up to 13.5 volts while this was hooked up, which is rather interesting because one of the reasons I've always been skeptical of these is they come with these little tiny jump leads, and anybody that understands DC current knows that a small battery cable is not going to transmit very many amps. You've got small connectors on here, so it's like, well, I mean, how many cranking amps can this thing really produce through these little tiny cables? Well, the fact that this thing actually produces a charging voltage actually explains a lot about how this thing works. Now behind me here is my it's like an 05, 06 Ford F350 single rear wheel with a 6-liter Power Stroke diesel in it. Now this, I think, is probably going to be about the limit of what this thing can jump start. I've got bad batteries in this truck. These batteries have been in here since before I bought it, and I've probably had this truck for, I don't know, probably 5 years now, I'd guess. And I've never put batteries in it. You can tell they're weak. It cranks over slow, which those of you guys that know Power Strokes know that that's a very bad thing on the 6-liter. And a few weeks ago here, I drove this thing to the shop here, and I'd accidentally left my headlights on for about 15 minutes, and this thing was stone dead. Now I've got a brand new set of batteries to go in this thing, but before I do that, I thought I'd give this thing a shot and see if I can jump start this. So what we're going to do here, now I just drove this thing in the shop. I've been driving it around for probably an hour here now, running around doing different things, and we just pulled it in the shop, and these batteries should be fully charged, but they're showing 12.29 volts. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, come over here. We're going to turn the headlights on. And I'm just going to leave this thing sit here with the headlights on, drain these batteries totally dead, and then we're going to hook that jump pack up and see if we can start it. Now right after we turn the headlights on, you can see we're already down to 12.07 volts. Let's go ahead and just, we're going to get this thing down to, I don't know, 10 volts or something like that. And I'm not going to try to start it by itself at that low voltage because I don't want to fry my FICM. For those of you that don't know, the FICM, which is the fuel injection control module, it's buried back in there somewhere, but it's got a power supply in it that bumps the voltage up from your battery voltage to, I think it's like 48 volts or something like that to fire the injectors. And when you crank these power strokes over on dead batteries, it overloads that power supply in the FICM and burns it out. And it's not a cheap fix. I've had to do it once before on this truck, and I don't really want to do it again. So we're going to just drain these batteries down to a voltage that we know it's not going to start, and then we're going to hook the jump pack up and see if we can fire it up. Now I know there's going to be a number of you guys that suggest trying to jump start one of my semi trucks with this thing, and really I think that this is probably about the limit of what this thing's going to be able to jump start. Now if you want to jump start a semi truck, this is what you want. You don't want cheap jumper cables. You want a good jumper cable that has, you know, like a 1 gauge or a double aught wire on it. Now, a good set of jumper cables like this is going to run you about $100 or maybe even a little bit more. But buy the good cables. Don't buy the cheap $15 Walmart ones. The cables may look heavy, but it's going to be like an 8 or a 10 gauge wire in there with a just thick insulation to make it look like it's a heavy duty wire, and they're not. A good set of jumper cables that's going to have a good heavy copper wire in it is going to cost you at least $100. If you're going to be jump starting semi trucks, that's what you want, and I don't really suggest anything else. And I don't want to intentionally run the batteries dead on one of my semi trucks to try to test this jump start pack on it. Now, in the future, maybe if I happen to have a dead semi truck I got to try to start, I might try it. So, you know, we might do that in the future, but I'm not going to do it today. Okay, so it's been a little while. The headlights are still on, down to 11.2 volts, and I'm actually going to do this test a little bit differently than I originally said. Okay, I've pulled the FICM relay out, so we won't get power to the fuel injection control module, so we don't risk blowing that up. And then we're going to pull this connector out over here on the passenger side. It just goes right here, and this is the lead that runs to the starter relay, or the starter rather, and we should just be able to touch this to the battery here and try to crank it. You can see it didn't really crank. I'm going to go ahead and shut the headlights off and try to crank it, and then we're going to hook the jump start pack up. Let me turn the GoPro on here. We're going to put the GoPro on the voltmeter here. Okay, that's recording, so we can see what the voltage is doing when we try to crank it. And where'd my wire go here? So you can see, obviously that's not going to start. Now we're going to take this, showing full charge. I charged this a few weeks ago. I didn't just charge it today or anything, but showing full charge. Go ahead and hook this up. Okay, so we've got that hooked up, and you can see our voltage over here is climbing. I'm going to give it just a few minutes here. This hooked up. You can see we're already down a couple bars here. We're up to 12.98 volts. Let's go ahead and give this thing a shot here, see what happens. Okay, so I went ahead and that first one, it might have started, it might not have. I cranked kind of fast for a few seconds and then quit. And so I was just letting this sit on here and charge for a minute. and we were up to like 13, a little over 13 volts, and then this started beeping and flashing at us, and we're down again. And let's go ahead and try it again here now, and see what happens. I think that probably would have started. So we're going to go ahead and put our jump pack up here. 2 starting attempts. We've actually still got more battery voltage than we did to start with. We're going to go ahead and put the new batteries in and compare how this thing cranked over on the jump pack compared to new batteries. Obviously, new batteries should crank over faster, but we're just go ahead and we're change them out. We'll put the new ones in. We're crank it over again as a comparison, but yeah. Overall, pretty impressed. This probably would have started, and you know, for a little tiny jump pack, it'd definitely start a V8 car or whatever. You know, this is going to be pretty demanding as far as trying to jump start something. So you know, it's 2 battery setup, diesel engine. You know, it's pretty demanding, and it probably would have worked. And these batteries were pretty darn discharged. So, let alone the batteries themselves are no good. So, yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I'll have to try to remember to charge this thing back up so that we have it for if we need it again. Alright, so we got both of our new batteries in. We've got 12.51 volts on the multimeter there. Still got the Fickum relay unplugged, and we're just going to jump it off the wire here. And she cranks over good, no surprise. So there we go, YouTube. Our batteries are charging, engine's running. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We should have a lot of great content coming up here within the next few weeks. We should be getting the 359P in here shortly to start getting some work done on it. And anyway, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day.